shall prosper. Man. So we're in Job chapter 3 tonight. I was talking to my dad about doing the book of Job, going through the book of Job the other day. And I said, I may have gotten myself into something, Dad, that I didn't want to get myself into. But we're going to give it a go. Because what you have in the first two chapters is you have really, from a pastoral perspective, from a teaching perspective, you have two chapters that are just full of content that is applicable to today. I mean, the first two chapters are just chock full of suffering and God saying what a righteous man and the devil, what he does. And now you get into complaint and discouragement and things like that. And so we come tonight to Job chapter 3, Job's Lamentations. Interestingly, 2 weeks ago we were in 1 Samuel chapter 1, I guess it was, or 2 Samuel chapter 1, and looking at David's Lamentations. But Job's Lamentations tonight. Chapter 3, the book of Job. After this, after the 7 days, it appears that way, that after he got everything taken from him, and in studying this, more and more I read, people tend to agree that it was a time period, a considerable time period, from when he lost everything to when he got boils. It wasn't just the next day or two. It was a considerable time. So his friends come, and they sit there, and they mourn. They kind of badmouth him. I don't say they badmouth him, but they just were like, dude, he looks terrible. Nobody wants to hear that. No matter how bad you look, you never want to hear, man, you look awful. It's just not comforting to hear that. They sit down, verse 13 of chapter 2, sat down with him upon the ground 7 days, 7 nights, none spake a word to him. They saw that his grief was very great. Okay, so after this, apparently after 7 days, Job opened Job his mouth and cursed his day. Job spake and said, let the day perish wherein I was born, and the night in which it was said, there is a man-child conceived. Let that day be darkness. Let not God regard it from above. Neither let the light shine upon it. Let darkness and the shadow of death stain it. Let a cloud dwell upon it. Let the blackness of the day terrify it. As for that night, let darkness seize upon it. Let it not be joined unto the days of the year. Let it not come unto the number of the months. Lo, let that night be solitary. Let no joyful voice come therein. Let them curse it that curse the day, who are ready to raise up their mourning. Let the stars of the twilight thereof be dark. Let it look for light, but have none. Neither let it see the dawning of the day. Because it shut not up the doors of my mother's womb, nor hid sorrow from mine eyes. Why died I not from the womb? Why did I not give up the ghost when I came out of the belly? Why did the knees prevent me? Or why the breast that I should suck? For now should I have lain still and been quiet, I should have slept, then had I been at rest. With kings and counselors of the earth, which built desolate places for themselves, or with princes that had gold, who filled their houses with silver, or as a hidden untimely birth I had not been, as infants which never saw light. There the wicked cease from troubling, and there the weary be at rest. There the prisoners rest together. They hear not the voice of the oppressor. The small and great are there, and the servant is free from his master. Wherefore is light given to him that is in misery, and life unto the bitter in soul, which long for death, but it cometh not, and dig for it more than hid treasures, which rejoice exceedingly, and are glad when they can find the grave. Why is light given to a man whose way is hid, and whom God hath hedged in? For my sighing cometh before I eat, and my roarings are poured out like the waters. For the thing which I greatly feared is come upon me, and that which I was afraid of is come unto me. Now, verse 26 states it as it's given as statements. It's really, the translation, when you go back to the original, is not statement. It's interrogatory questions. It ought to read, we would understand it better this way. Was I not in safety? Had I not rest? Was I not quiet? Yet trouble came. Very depressing chapter. Nothing in this is really encouraging. From verse 2 all the way to the end, it is discouragement and despair. That's what we have as number one, Job's despair. We've read many a psalm written by David or another psalmist, but particularly by David in his running from Saul, in his time running from Absalom, his son, the Philistines and things like that, where we saw David at the beginning of a psalm where we've seen him say, "Hear my cry, O Lord. Listen to me. I'm a man who is encamped about on every side." This isn't a psalm. This is the idea. I'm encamped about on every side by the enemy. They seek daily to destroy me. Where is my help? Where am I going to find relief from this? And as I've said before, somewhere in the psalm, almost without exception, there's a turning point. It's like a light flips in David's head. And he goes, "Oh, I know better than that. Lord, you're my help. You're my stay. You're my sustainer in the time of trouble," and all these things. We don't have that here. At least not in this chapter. From verse 2, or verse 3, I should say, to the end, it is brutal to read. It's not easy. I mean, you can just, go through it real quick just if you're just reading, but if you understand the history, if you understand his situation, and you read it in context with understanding, Job was in a bad place. Job was, I think we could probably say, depressed. We see, number one, his despair. We look at, and let me walk you through some steps here to see this. Job was a righteous man. We saw in chapter 1, chapter 2, where God said, there's none like him in all the earth. He is a perfect man. He is upright. He is a man that loveth God and escheweth evil. I mean, this is John the Baptist or the Apostle Paul of the Old Testament. This is a man who loved God, who was righteous. Job had suffered. We've seen this. 2 chapters. He suffered tremendously. The loss of all his possessions, the loss of servants, the care that we've talked about that he had to come to terms with of the servants' families. How am I going to feed them? How am I going to take care of them now that all I own is gone? And then his family. 7 sons, 3 daughters killed in a tornado. And in the span of 5 minutes, let's just say it took 5 minutes for him to find out everything. And in the span of 5 minutes, his world changed completely. Job had not cursed God. Verse 22 of chapter 1. Let me go back to verse 21. And Job said, "Naked I came out of my mother's womb, naked shall I return. The Lord gave, the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." In all this, Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly. Verse 10 of chapter 2, after he's gotten boils and Satan's just wrecked his life again. It says, verse 10, he said unto her, his wife, "Thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. What? Shall we receive good at the hand of God and not receive evil? In all this did not Job sin with his lips." I mean, he's a righteous man. It's not that he has turned his back on God and said, "Oh, God, I'm so mad at you. I hate you. I can't believe you've done this to me. Look at my life now. You did this to me." He's not done any of that. Job had not cursed God. We come to point number 4 in this. But, all caps, even the most righteous of men or women, and I use that word men as a gender. I mean, it's just gender neutral, okay? I'm not saying man can only be righteous. Men. even the most righteous of men are still men. We have made a mistake many times in our churches, and in looking at the man who stands behind the pulpit and going, oh, he's just so, what a good man, what a righteous man, what a holy man, and oh, this man, and we make more of that man than we ought to. I've been in countless churches, and I've seen it happen. I'm going to mute this for a second. A situation where people go, oh, there's the greatest man I've ever known. Oh, he's just, he can do no wrong. I know people don't say he can do no wrong, maybe, although I've heard it of some men. There's the indication. April worked with a lady years ago that had a picture of a preacher, not her husband, of another preacher at her desk. And my brother Alan, who is, always just right in line with everything, very tactful, yeah. He walked in and said, oh, what exactly did he say? Oh, Jack. And this lady said, if I'm getting this right, said, oh, the Holy Spirit doesn't even call him that. Okay. That's ridiculous. That's idolatry. That's of the devil. Job was a righteous man, but he was still a man. We have done this in churches where we say, oh, that man, oh, he can do no wrong. He's this, that, and the other. And he is fallible.